I'm back. How y'all doing on this Christmas Day, whatever that means to you? Just a couple of things I want to discuss here today, and it's a bit of a Christmas gift for you. It's up to you what you do with it, of course, but anyhow. Most every transaction in the public involves the tendering of a security, be it an indictment, bank check, credit card application for SIN, SSN, a mortgage note, promissory note. These are all securities. For example, you go into a store to purchase something, you're going to exchange securities. You're going to exchange a check or cash for a receipt. This way the public is operating since 1933, you're not actually purchasing the substance. It's an exchange of securities. That's all it is. So let me carry on here. With respect to these securities that we tender, the recipient is supposed to return equal value, but they never do. So either they have stolen the funds at worst or suffered a taxable gain at best. Prior to 1933, it was an even exchange of commodities. Since HJR 192, it is an even exchange of futures, securities futures, promises to pay. HJR replaced a commodity system with a futures system of credit. If the recipient fails to return equal value as usual, they never do, I've told you this, then he must place the item into trust or face the consequences of theft. We are the beneficiary of that trust, or also the grantor. If we were not, then they would have effectively stolen your security. A public official cannot steal or claim your securities. No way, no how. They cannot afford the tax or the criminal liability. It's 10 years in the US and it's 14 years here in Canada, breach of trust. And that would be 18 USC 2073 for the Americans. Therefore, by definition, each of these trusts involving every facet of our lives consists of your funds being held in escrow for your benefit. That's why we need to reclaim the securities. You'll never get that. The problem is that they always presume that the security was deposited generally to an account at their disposal. Remember, I talked about this. Title passes to the holder, recipient, thereby reversing the roles. Everything in the public is backwards, 100%. They are operating under the presumption that the plaintiff is the beneficiary and you are the trustee. But once we correct the faulty presumptions, take away those presumptions, they revert to the trustee obligated to follow the public indenture, and we revert to our rightful role as the beneficiary of the funds. If you claim special deposit and demand a return of your securities and they fail to comply, you've got a taxable termination of your interest in your securities, for which the party holding the instrument is liable for the taxes. This is where this gets into tax evasion. There's forms to report this stuff. You see, they should be reporting the abandonment or the disposition of the securities. They should also be reporting the capital gains, and they never do that. They are not doing that. So either they do that or we can do it for them. Yesterday, I was just off the cuff here. This just happened yesterday, and a friend of mine was here for a visit, and he and his family just purchased a brand new Ford pickup truck back in September. So he was telling me about that, a lot of searching they did at the time. There was a shortage on vehicles, hard to find. He was looking for one in particular. Couldn't find it. Finally, in September, something comes online and there's the truck, exactly the one he's looking for. So he calls, jumps in his car and driving down to the dealership and informs the dealer that he's on his way to purchase that vehicle, that car, that pickup truck. So fast forward a little bit, he gets to the dealership, and my friend was concerned that the dealer, someone else might come along and purchase the truck, the vehicle. So here's what the salesman did. He opens the file, and I don't have the actual new vehicle information statement or manufacturer certificate of order to show you, but he holds up, this is in Canada here, the new vehicle information statement, which I said is just like a statement of live birth or certificate of live birth or a manufacturer certificate of origin. He holds this up and says, nobody can take this truck. I have this. Nobody can take this truck. That salesman understood the power of that little piece of paper there. You see, my friend, through conversation, realizes he didn't actually purchase a truck. Remember, there's no substance in the system. It's an exchange of securities. He purchased a security. It was an exchange of securities. However, he didn't get this, the new vehicle information statement. That's what the government gets when the vehicle is registered, and there's things we can do with that as well. And I'm not going to talk about it in these videos. That's why I offer consultation services, so on and so forth. And I see people are posting stuff on the internet, which is fine. I expected that. And they're going to run off half-cocked thinking they know things, but anyhow, they'll figure it out when it doesn't work, that it wasn't the information, it was a lack of information or understanding on their part. So once again, that MCO, the New Vehicle Information Statement, they are securities. And the salesman was very well aware of that. Now, again, I'm speaking in generalities here. I'm going to bring up the screen share because we're going to get a little bit about securities, countries, governments, so on and so forth, and their securities. Securities, what I want to do here now is a screen share. And I'll show you some stuff here from the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States. A lot of you people are aware of this. I'm aware of that. Just to make a point here. This is from the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Edgar search system. And I pulled up one here that deals with foreign governments. There's a whole list of them here. Foreign governments. Okay, now they're registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Again, Securities and Exchange. Get it? Securities and Exchange. That's what they're in the business of dealing with. I see here Canada, City of Naples, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Brazil, Finland, Government of Belize, Government of Jamaica, Hungary, Israel, Italy, Jamaica, Japan. I think you get the point there. Okay, Quebec, Ontario. Here we see the Commonwealth of Australia. Here we see the United Kingdom. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here, people, when you're dealing with foreign governments or what you believe to be a country. That's all corporate entities, and every one of them is dealing in securities. Make no mistake about it, people, all governments, banks, courts, corporations, countries, so-called, function on securities. They are nothing without them. Those securities belong to us, not them. We secure the foundational security, to secure all the other securities, the trusts, accounts, the certificates, and deposits, so on and so forth. According to the Law of Nations, I want to bring up another screen share here, just a moment. Okay, this Law of Nations, chapter 5, subsection 212, states very clearly that the registration of birth, and there's also the handbook on civil registration from the United Nations. Here, I read these a long time ago. Civil registration of vital statistic systems. Good little document to read. A lot of insight there for understanding. So Law of Nations and United Nations Handbook on Civil Registration, just so you can see those things, and you can find them on the internet if you care to search it out, if you care to look. So according to the Law of Nations, Chapter 5, subsection 212, in the United Nations Handbook on Civil Registration, Vital Statistics, I just showed you, registration of birth is the only way to perpetuate the existence of society, the corporation. So what they need is these: certificate of live birth, statement of live birth. That's what they need. They have to have those. I'm using that again here for demonstration purposes. This is without doubt a security, no doubt about it. Look up the definition of securities, go through your securities legislation, get online. You should go by the definitions in the codes and in the legislation, not the dictionaries, because that's what they go by. They go by the codes, the legislation. Forget the dictionary definitions, other than might give you some enlightenment, but at the end of the day, you always want to look to the codes, the statutes, legislation, so on and so forth, for their meanings and definitions and interpretations, because that's what they go by. And remember, all of this is binding on them. Everything we do here is binding on them. We don't have to make it binding on them. It already is binding on them. So yeah, you can look into what a security is, and I've covered it on in a previous video. So if you read the United Nations Handbook, it soon becomes evident. They create legal families or clone images of the flesh and blood real people. There are flesh and blood heirs, and there are legal heirs. The flesh and blood heirs can get control of their legal heirs, their clone image, the one that exists in the public in legal land, and the one that's subject to probate. That's what you see on these legal wills out there. That's all a legal will. That's got the legal entity on it there. That's your public estate, tying back to that. You're not there. No substance. Remember that. Get it in your heads. That is why they register births, to perpetuate society. Again, if the government stopped doing this, they would have nothing. Some people think the actual baby taken from the womb, that they register the actual baby taken from the womb. No, 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 no. No, the baby is the security, meaning the security is the baby. Used to be on a government website here in Ontario, born without the labor. See, the flesh and blood's born with the labor. This is born without the labor. It's another thing. It's a clone. It's not the real birth of the real child. It's not representing that at all. But that is, in their world, that's the baby they're talking about. Yeah, so in society, just took a quick look. An extended, definite meaning for society, an extended social group having a distinctive cultural and economic organization. Sounds like government, eh? Economic organization. So in any case, as it says in the Law of Nations, registration of birth is the only way to perpetuate the existence of society. So again, this is a registered certificated security. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes about it. It is the foundational collateral security those corporate entities masquerading as governments rely on for funding. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes about it. One for every man, woman, and child, right? It is assumed and presumed you will volunteer to pledge your labor, your property. It is assumed and presumed you will volunteer to back the national debt. It is what taxpayers do. It is what backs their legal tender put out by the central banks. We have all voluntarily pledged to back the national debt, to make their money, their currency, their Federal Reserve notes, Bank of Canada notes, so on and so forth, good. Question you got to ask yourself, do you bear the burden of a taxpayer? I bet you do. Oh, one other thing I got to show here too is the proof all of this is voluntary. This is from Canada. This is an application for a social insurance number here in Canada. That's what this is for, applying for a social insurance number. You see that part I got here highlighted? It says right there, participation is voluntary. However, refusal, let me carry on here, show you this. However, refusal to provide your personal information will result in you or your child not receiving a SIN, S-I-N. That's what it says. Participation is voluntary. However, refusal to provide your personal information will result in you or your child not receiving a SIN. Sin, sin, debt, sin, synonymous, right? So you can see that. I'll show you the top here so you know I'm not making stuff up here. Application for social insurance number. It's at January, as at January 2015 is the date on that. Again, I'll stop the screen share. Thank you. So you can see now the application for Canadian SIN number discloses that participation is voluntary. We've had a look at that. So when you volunteered, you basically, it's now assumed and presumed, and the record indicates that you've volunteered to pledge your labor, to pledge your property as a security to back the national debt and to back the Federal Reserve notes, that also back the Federal Reserve notes and the Bank of Canada notes and all these central bank pieces of paper. Now you know how it is that paying income tax is voluntary. You signed up. Maybe you didn't read the fine print. That was the fine print section, by the way. So now you know how it is that you voluntarily pledge your labor to back the government debt obligations. Mark my words, people, your life in this embodiment, everything you do in this life stream rides on that registration of birth security, this document right here. The application for SIN/SSN number is also a security's future. Sure, the argument can be made that not everything I do rides on that security. But when you understand the significance of that security, like those that have used our lack of knowledge of the understanding of these securities and use that knowledge against us to plunder us, our property, our families, you want everything to sit on that security. You do. Why? When we secure it, we secure everything. All in one heavenly swoop. When we secure everything, all other securities that sit on that foundational security. Going back to my friend got the truck, although he doesn't have possession of that securities hand, that MCO, that new vehicle information statement for that truck that he thinks he purchased a truck. He now knows he didn't purchase a truck. He purchased a security, but he never got the security, did he? No, but there, the government's holding it. We don't care. Once we secure this with a properly executed security agreement and understanding, that's secured as well. Remember, it's all about taking control, not ownership, taking control. A little on a high note today, just kind of like a day off. So been very, very busy. So these basically they're taking advantage of our lack of knowledge, and everything that's been happening to us is because they have control of this. We don't understand what's going on. So once we secure everything, all of the securities that sit on that foundational security, that being those that come in time after the foundational security. So again, this is the foundation. All those other securities, promissory notes, new vehicle information statements, deeds, instruments, blah, 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 all follow this. This is first, everything else is second in line. Secure this, you secure everything that follows after that is the point. First in time, first in line. That's why I kind of did on that first video, the part about that, there's a notice of birth where you come into being, but you don't exist because your name, and then, there's no name of the child on that notice of birth document. And there's no name until you get to this here, which is the clone image of the child's actual name. The child's real name is not registered at all, nor is the child. So holding this, having security on this is like holding a master key. It opens all the doors. And when a government agent or lawyer has you in his sights, whatever the claim may be, if you see it that the claim is based on an actual implied promise / obligation, and they all are, your priority registered claim renders their claim an adverse claim. It's all part of the understanding. I think you come here and just watch these videos and get it all. Maybe you can. I don't know what you know. So whenever somebody's coming after you, or they think that you're the debtor, so on and so forth, or maybe they don't, but they're handing the claim information to you. It will be based on an actual or an implied promise in a / obligation. And your priority register claim, meaning when we secure this is priority. You come first, and then this, right? You're the one doing the work. You're the sole contributor. You are the only one bringing the value to the table on that account. And so I want to give you a little look-see here at adverse claim. You'll see this in the UCC Article 8, for example. You'll see it in the Ontario Securities Transfer Act and other securities transfer legislation. Adverse claim means a claim that the claimant has a property interest in a financial asset, and it is a violation of the rights of the claimant for another person to hold, transfer, or deal with the financial asset. So you see, once you've done your security, they can't mess with this anymore. They're trespassing against your property rights if they did, but they can't, or they can do it, but if somebody did it, you're the claimant here I'm talking about. Again, the claimant has a property interest in a financial asset. You'll have an interest in this financial asset, every one of us. So every man, woman, and child has a property interest in the registration of birth security. It is a financial asset. Look in the legislation, the code. Once that asset is secure, we go by and we do that by going what is binding on them. The devils can no longer deal with our financial assets, not without consequences, such as tax liabilities or tax evasion, criminal aspect of it, not to mention breach of trust, theft, and fraud. Now, there is a be-all, end-all means to all of this, so that nobody would ever knock on your door again, is what I'm saying here. I'm not sure if we can go here go into that too far. Again, that's the kind of thing I have to think about, but I'm not sure if we can go there and right here, right now, and take that information into the public. I have to think on that for a bit. The be-all, end-all thing. And if you read between the lines here, some of his proper study and understanding will figure it out. Or, you can always purchase our Reclaim Your Securities information package and save yourself the time. Your call. I will say this, and then I'm done here for this part. Recoupment is another element of this. One can recoup, get back all that was taken from you all the way back to your 18th birthday. However, This requires greater understanding, and it's not for everyone. It's not something you have to do, but you can reclaim. So every nickel you've paid, everything that was taken from you in a dollars and cents perspective, you can't get back the car they took maybe 20 years ago, but the value of the security, so on and so forth. So what we're talking about here is called recoupment. That's if you look on go to our website and click on the must-read button there. You'll scroll down, you'll see some testimonies and stuff, and you'll see a fellow did recoup $21 million from a bank, and he used the Canada Revenue Agency to do it for him. Canada Revenue collected for him, not the other way around. You see, and something that the fellow that did that shared was that the people at the Canada Revenue Agency are not aware, most of them, that they also have an accounts payable. You see, for them, they think it's all one way, incoming, but they actually do have an accounts payable. But you have to know how to make that particular type of claim. And that's, again, for the more advanced students. So this requires greater understanding and is not for everyone, nor is it necessary to go that distance as we call it. In other words, like I say, you can go, it's like a car auto mechanic. Some go to school for 5 years to learn how to, to work on the cooling system. Others go to work on the drivetrain. Others go to learn the whole gamut. Depends how far you want to go with this. See this? You can see that? That's a lien filing. This, in Canada, it's known as a 1C, or in Ontario, and in the United States would be a UCC1. There's also a UCC2 application here, and a 2C for Canada for the assignment. So yeah, that lien registration, it's evidence, proof of the registration of my lien interest in this. Again, statement of live birth, certificate of live birth. A security. Remember, this is important to remember this. This is about control, not ownership. So this here is evidence, proof of the registration of my lien interest, a security interest. The security agreement, this is the lien. This is our 3-page security agreement. Piece of work. It's a beautiful thing. Like I say, with this here, we just go out there and do business like we normally have, using the all caps name. We don't concern ourselves with any of that. Just that we're in control now, you see, so everything changes. Remember, the roles are reversed. Everything in the public is backwards. We're putting things back to the proper place. So the security agreement is the lien, not the registration. The world runs on security interests. Banks are a prime example. Own nothing, control everything. Banks don't own anything. I mean, they don't own your house. They don't own your car, but they have control. If you don't pay, right, they can take it. That control is acquired by way of a security interest, a registered lien interest. Before that happens, they have you sign, in case of a bank, they have you sign a security agreement. That's what gives them the authority. Now, if you default on the obligation, your promise, whatever, they can take the car or the house or whatever. Take it to court for unpaid, whatever. So this is evidence, proof that I, via my proxy, which we've talked about in the security agreement here. Remember, man doesn't fit in the system. If you put man down as a secure party in a security agreement, that'd be a fatal flaw. Because your name in the all caps name is going to, once it gets into the computer system, it's all going to revert to all caps, or appear as all caps. It's all going to look as one and the same. So it just collapses to the original trust. So anyhow, so this is evidence that I, via my proxy, hold the highest claim to and control of and over my foundation document security. I'm in the driver's seat now. I have control of and over this, even though I don't hold it. Not the point, holding it. So I have the highest claim to and control of my foundational security, my public estate, the all cap names, plural, all the derivations, all the accounts, derivative trust, security, certificates, profits, and proceeds. This, the registration of the lien filing, points to the existence of a security agreement. So there had better be such an agreement in place. In other words, if you go ahead and file the lien without a proper secured agreement in place, then the lien is basically invalid because it's the security agreement that is the lien. We register these to end up with this so as to perfect the interest. It's called perfection. You want perfection. You don't want less than perfection. 99.9% is not perfection. Oh dear. Okay, so again, holding this lien filing in place is evidence proof that I, via my proxy, have a property interest in financial assets. And as per the meaning of adverse claim I spoke of previously, I, through my proxy, am the claimant. So if anyone wants to start making claims here, all I got to do now, it's very powerful in the world of commerce, and when you're dealing with government agents, banks, so on and so forth, government actors, so on and so forth, very powerful because it's like I say, all of this is binding on them. If you read the legislation, you'll see it's binding on them. I'll get to that. So I'm the claimant. So if someone's trying to make a claim, then I would be the claimant, and they would be the one making the adverse claim. And meaning I am the one to speak up and give notice of my superior claim. So if someone's knocking on my door saying, we want something from you, for example, it's incumbent upon me to tell them, oh, by the way, I've got a registered security interest in here. And unless you have a higher security interest and take a hike, they have to walk away or it would constitute an adverse claim. So unless the other claimants can produce a higher claim than mine, and they can't, it's not possible, my claim stands. It's the highest, superior, and the same would go for all you people. This gives me the dominion over my life, my freedom, my property, as granted by God, is now secure. I can direct where my credit, profits, and proceeds go. Just a little heads up there. I cannot go further with this here without giving advice. Perhaps you can think of ways you could use that sort of proof, evidence. Talking about again, the 1C/2C, UCC1/UCC3. The lien filings are binding on anyone and everything that is or may make a claim. That is to say, come at you with some sort of a claim for money, debt, or performance, actual or implied. We do not care. This whole removes all assumptions and presumptions, all right across the board, corrects your status. It's all part of the whole, all done in one heavenly swoop. A claim that has your all cap, and all of these claims, of course, will have your all caps clone name on it or attached to it. The name you take control of via the lien, that's the names I'm talking about here. See our part 9 video on YouTube. Let's see how the all capital letters name fits into reclaiming your securities. Again, this, I can't get that in focus. Let me try something here. Can you see that better? Okay, that's under the Personal Property Security Act in Ontario. So that is evidence, and it says binding on governments, the Crown, all persons, banks, corporations, and any and all entities partaking in commerce, period. And just for the record here, I know there's people out there promoting you have to appoint these people as trustee. Big mistake. We do not appoint anyone as trustee. They are already trustee because they hold our property, our securities, and never give equal value in exchange. They have the obligation to perform, not us. Once you get your house in order, that is. As people get a good grip on reclaiming your securities, you can create your own stimulus package. You don't need to wait for Congress or Parliament or any other place. If they're holding a security, for heaven's sakes, we've talked about how you can fund your estate. Have your own. I just having fun with here calling it a stimulus package. You're not put it on the TV all the time, or on YouTube anyhow. No TV here. Yeah. So anyone that's going out there and saying that you got to appoint and appointing someone as a trustee, that is evidence that you lack understanding, evidence of your incompetence. Remember, this is about returning to competence, and that's why I stress on the understanding of the principles and the concepts. I know people are going to get this information after a couple, 3 weeks or a couple, 3 days or a couple, whatever, and start putting paperwork together and firing off letters all over the place and thinking they're going to go somewhere, and probably most of them won't. To take your time on these things. So that was it for this particular video that I had planned. And again, I know we're all up in the Christmas thing, but I'll say Merry Christmas to those who like the Merry Christmas thing, and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays, best of season. And let's hope we have a happy, very happy, prosperous 2021. And also, just for the record here, for people who are getting fines for not wearing a mask, blah, 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 I could care less. I could care less. All of this stuff can be dealt with. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal, not at all. And once you have actually got your house in order and established your account with the Secretary of the Treasury or the Department of Finance, then you won't get these things anymore anyhow once you've done that properly. You'll be free and clear and good to go. They won't bother you anymore. They won't bother you anymore. There'd be a little flag in the system attached to the all caps name. Don't touch. It gets expensive for us if you do. Very. So on that note, thank you for listening and putting up with me, and I bid you adieu. Thank you so much. God bless.